So, welcome to this episode of Nerds Talking on the Internet. I'm John Kuempel, a team lead here at Jeeng, and I'll be the one asking the questions. And here with me to answer them, hopefully, are Guy and Yoav, who work for Jeeng as developers and data scientists. So, the first question I have is because we're going to be talking about the technological singularity. What does that mean exactly?
So I think I was going to try to tackle that question, but give a very big overview because it's such a broad subject and it means different things to different people. And I wanted to just start by saying the obvious. Singularity is actually in reference to the center of a black hole where we don't have gravity and we don't know what's going on. And when we talk about it in philosophy terms, like the technological singularity, we're doing the same thing. We're talking about something where we don't know, what's in the future, and it's like a metaphor for what we don't know, but what we're predicting off of trends and different beliefs. And it's like the easiest comparison I could make is kind of to Black Mirror, and how people watch Black Mirror and they say, oh yeah, I could see that happening, like. I see how social media is going this way, privacy is going this way, or how AI is going this way, robotics are going this way. All of that is part of the technological singularity. And some people look at, technological singularity based on growth of humans or growth of machines. And some people, like me, were more interested in the relationship between the two, I'm personally not an expert on technology. I'm a junior developer at Jeeng. That's why I asked Yoav to join. I'm also not an expert on people. Maybe I should have asked a salesperson to join, but I'm happy to talk about the two, how they relate to each other. And fascinating idea of singularity that I always think about, and it's sometimes referred to as the telescopic evolution, the telescoping evolution. I took one note from a lecture by Iman Healy, a great, singularity professor and scientist. It's from the movie Waking Life, which maybe you guys have seen. It's like really cool mosaic of different philosophy. And he explains the telescoping of evolution as how it took billions of years for life to evolve, and then 6 million years from life to go to the hominid, 100,000 years for mankind as we know it. And today we're seeing the evolution, the telescoping nature of the evolutionary paradigm, where we have a different sort of evolution with technology on a daily basis, or maybe even hourly basis. Maybe we're pushing updates to code every hour, and it changes the way things work. It changes the way people look at things. So it's like the rate of how evolution is going is exponential, and it's going up. And people have different theories about that. I think when we get more into AI and talking about AI, like some people think that, it will mean that we will become part of machines will become as intelligent as us, like the whole, Terminator AI thing, Skynet thing.
Right.
Or Her is another example. I love the movie Her. Like all of that incorporates into that, like what the meaning of the telescoping of evolution, what the effect of the telescoping of evolution is.
Right. We are constantly,
I could go on.
Yeah. So we're constantly recording like more data about the world and about all of us. And, that feeds like machine learning algorithms. So, machine learning is a subset of AI. Maybe you could speak to how that's changed the world just in the last, say, 5 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Past decade, I would say there have been major breakthroughs. If we go to the beginning of computer science, say about 100 years ago, we are talking about a time where the word computer was a job title, right? Alan Turing came up with the idea of automating this process of computation. Ever since, he also coined the term artificial intelligence, because if you think about it, the thing about artificial intelligence is the artificial part, that we can create it, that we can manufacture it on demand. What we have in the past decade, we are actually, I feel, reaching a point where we are following Alan Turing's vision, and we are reaching a point where our computers are working more and more as learning systems, as you would expect, as they call it, as a baby learns, and less like machines where you actually have to specify each step in a very rigorous way. We are now reaching a point where we can use computers in a much more natural way, right? So when people speak about artificial intelligence in general, that's a huge field. We are talking about it. Even if we talk just about intelligence, forgetting the artificial part, in some contexts, a dog is intelligent, right? You wouldn't say a dog is unintelligent. Exactly. Yeah. But in other contexts, dog level intelligence would be put down, or something you wouldn't let a dog, fill your text forms or stuff like that. You would be really impressed if he knows like 400 words, but that's not what we call intelligent, human level intelligence. So that's a little bit confusing. Artificial intelligence also has this very vast range of definitions. So you can start with just about anything a computer does is kind of replacing intelligence in a sense. Even a simple elevators used to have people operating them. We take it for granted now. Intelligence in general is, from the software engineering perspective, is when we have a problem that we don't have a direct algorithm that we can solve it with. We don't know all the correct steps to get to the solution. Then we use artificial intelligence. So by design, it's a little bit messy. It's a little bit, let's say, it's not 100% accurate. It's not, that's already very different from the usual programs that we run, right? You don't run an operating system or a browser, which are very obviously common software programs. You don't expect them to work only 99% of the time, or to sometimes do one thing and sometimes do another thing. In artificial intelligence, it's different. It's usually something a little bit more messy, especially with machine learning, that you hope the system will learn something useful, something that you see as useful and logical, but it can pick up other stuff along the way. It can make mistakes.
You're right. There are obviously certain systems that, based on the outcome, affect our lives more than another. Right? Like if Netflix recommends a movie that we don't like, it doesn't necessarily have that large of an impact on our lives. But as was demonstrated kind of last year with social media and kind of the things that were recommended, they were kind of, I guess, branded as essentially creating echo chambers for people.
Yeah. That's one of the best examples of I would call it an ethics problem in the field. It's not a technological problem. What people don't understand is that it's nearly impossible to run away from this problem. So we have to solve them head on. Let's say you say, I've had enough of this. I don't trust Facebook. I don't trust Google, whatever. I'm going off grid. I delete my Facebook account. You're smiling. Maybe I don't know if this is common knowledge, but Facebook will create a phantom user of you, even if you never created a user on their system. They can know a lot about you just by the fact that you chose not to have an account. They can realize who your friends are, who your family are. They can realize, they can know about you things that you thought they had no access to. This is the power of machine learning. Machine learning uses vast amounts of data to generalize over seemingly unknowable instances. Like how could they know so much about you? They can. Netflix is a good example of how this works. Like you said, it's not the end of the world if they know what movies you like or don't. But by just liking a few movies, they've already put you in a box with similar people. Like it's enough for them that out of millions of people, a few are enough like you that they can predict a lot of things about you in a way that if, like you said, if it's used wrongly, maliciously, or not, if it's used wrongly, it can have vast consequences. I would say social media is a huge problem. The echo chamber problem, the clickbait, the rage bait. Getting you. The algorithm will learn what causes you to become enraged just because it's optimizing clicks, it's optimizing engagement. It's not optimizing your best interests in
Right.
no way. I would say we are living in interesting times.
So, I mean, given that these things are essentially just big number crunching algorithms and don't necessarily have malicious intent, I mean, how do we kind of prevent ourselves from ending up in some sort of dystopia where everyone's getting disenfranchised unless they meet some certain criteria that was set in place decades before the decision's actually made?
Guy, do you want to?
Yeah, I wanted to I just have some anecdotes that came to mind when you said that. I was just thinking about different times where seeing people write AI that went through LinkedIn resumes and they figured out that it was racist and they said, okay, we can't use this. So there's obviously the human choice. Just another anecdote is I remember there was a famous episode of Jeopardy where they had Watson compete. Mm-hmm. So they had this AI compete and they basically only had it answer. I don't know so much about it, but I think they only had it answer if it was like more than 70% sure of something. And then in the middle of the episode, it was sure of an answer, but it also like threw in curse words. It threw in a curse because it didn't have that human knowledge of like, oh, I can't say this, and it just basically picking up from internet articles that are littered with, of course, curse words, bigotry, all the stuff that we don't want making decisions, but are in there. So yeah, I think that a lot of it just comes down to humans going and looking at it and saying, does this work for our needs, or do we need to, rewrite the algorithms so that it doesn't factor in things. It does factor in things. Maybe it doesn't factor in race because we don't, a policy to be based off race, or it does factor in, something else so that, like it does factor in, don't use curse words when giving an answer, censor yourself. So those are just two random anecdotes that I thought about.
Yeah, those are really good examples. Yeah. The problem is that it's usually not that simple. You say, let's not take race into account. The computer is happy to comply, of course. You are not inputting the race of the people you are checking, but it infers the race and then uses it. Okay? Now, inferring the race, it's not going to tell you that's what it's doing. It's only after very, I would say, meticulous analysis that you would understand that that's what's happening. It's not going to say, I understand the race of the people. It's going to be a a very contrived mathematical equation. And if you are not careful, then you are back to square one.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to allude to with I think it was Google went through all the resumes and they just had AI pick which was the best candidate, and they saw consistently that it was picking white people instead, and it was choosing based off names and things that it didn't say the race, but they were able to figure out or it led towards racial decisions.
Yeah. Of course, the problem can be the other way around. Let's say you are an intelligence agency, and you want to go over the communications of millions of people. For me, I think maybe a computer automatically reading my emails or whatever is maybe better than an actual person going over them and deciding if it's interesting or not. I do think that there are opportunities here to make the world a better place. What I mean is, sometimes it will be that the people that intervene in the algorithm are the bad actors in the story, right? Sometimes it's going to be the people that introduce their biases and the people that introduce their agenda, while the algorithm can be maybe open source, maybe it can be validated by many different people, maybe it can be, QA'd and double-checked and triple-checked and whatever, where a human intervening, and I have nothing against humans, right? The human intervening could be the one introducing the bad intentions, or the good intentions but bad consequences, right? So it's not really clear today how to solve this. It is an interesting problem, definitely. We do talk about intelligence system that also have a code of conduct or principles that they would never break, or things like that. If you've ever read an Isaac Asimov story, you would know that you can always find loopholes.
The three rules, yes.
Yeah.
Rules.
So, even simple softwares, I would say anything that's non-trivial, you always have bugs. You always have unintended consequences. You always have loopholes. With artificial intelligence, especially the kind that's actually out there and doing things on its own, I would say there is no simple solution to avoid problems. We'll have to remember that these are not perfect systems, just like any other system, and we would have to, be vigilant.